If you are poor, disabled, queer, or from an ethnic minority background, you are more likely to be a victim of crime. You are more likely to need the police's help, and you are more likely to be let down. Do the police serve the people? I was 15 when a police officer shot and killed Michael Brown. Of the 12 bullets fired, 6 struck Michael. 6 bullets at a kid just 3 years older than I was. From an ocean away, watching this, I didn't get it. He had just graduated high school. He liked computers. How could he be killed by someone who was meant to protect him? I was 19 when police in my mother's country, Kyrgyzstan, let a young girl, Burulay, be murdered inside a police station. I was 21 when officers in the States killed Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Dante Wright. 22 for the abduction and murder of Sarah Everard, to watch the police break up her vigil. Now, 25, and watching police beat and batter anti-war protesters, my fellow students, and free speech advocates in Amsterdam, America, Germany, Georgia, and beyond. Never has it been clearer that the police do not serve the people, that they exist to intimidate us more than protect us, that they don't solve the problem of crime, and that they don't keep us safe. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I can argue all of that, and I will, I must first thank the President for the honor of giving this speech. It has been a pleasure serving with you and this term's committee, and to introduce the speakers for the opposition. Speaking first is Mr. Connor Boyle, a PP finalist at Queen's and the union's socio-economic officer. Besides being a fellow Irishman, Connor is, in Oxford terms, a geriatric conservative. Having served on the AUCA committee for 9 consecutive terms. Despite such a long career, he has yet to run for the AUCA presidency, which begs the question, does he simply know better, or does he lack the guts? Whichever it is, I hope that his arguments tonight are like the drinks he pours at Prezzies, strong and heavy. Speaking second is Mr. Raza Nazar of Trinity College and one of our Sekis. Raza, you have made no enemies. This roast was very difficult to write. The worst thing I have found out about you, however, will be worrying to your current teammates. Raza is a lawyer. He represented a certain Mr. Buckley in his tribunal, which, as we know, did not go very well. Will his team face a similar fate tonight? And closing the argument for the opposition is Mr. Andy Cook, His Majesty's Chief Inspector of Constabulary and of Fire and Rescue Services. In his extensive career, Mr. Cook has worked as a detective, led squads at the Major Crime Unit, and was the National Policing Lead for Serious Organized Crime. He is also, as I've discovered, a fan of Twitter memes about police. One post on his account reads, "Hello police, my son has taken up lad. What's up lad? Nothing much, what's up with you?" Mr. President, these are your speakers and they are very welcome. When we talk about the police, what do we mean by service? Like a teenage boyfriend, the police feel like forever. Like we just need them so much and just can't imagine life without them. They serve us by stopping criminals and solving crimes. In theory. Far from what NCIS and Brooklyn Nine-Nine would have you believe, police today kind of struggle to solve crime. In 2023, the Inspectorate of Constabulary, a police watchdog, reported that UK police solved only 11% of crimes reported to them, and that they were, quote, closing cases without proper investigations, leaving criminals at large, and putting victims at further risk. The same is happening in the States. In 2022, the ACLU reported that the police, quote, don't solve serious or violent crimes with any regularity, and in fact, spend very little time on crime control. Murder, the crime we'd all consider most severe, has a 52% solve rate. You'd win a coin toss as often as you'd evade murder charges. And as global poverty goes up, as inequalities worsen, and as our world battles through wars, pandemics, and the devolution of capitalism, crime everywhere is going up, and solve rates are unfortunately going down. Solve rates, incidentally, are a keystone concern for most people. When we start critiquing the police, the usual snide retort is, well, who are you gonna call when you get robbed? Your mom? My insurance company? The Ghostbusters? At this point, it'd have about the same effect. Citizens want to know that crime is being solved, that if something bad happens to them, it won't just go unaddressed. But right now, statistically, that is what is happening. All right, so the police don't solve crimes as well as we think they do, but they prevent future ones, right? Police deterrence, putting more boots on the ground, whatever it is that Joe Biden and Rishi Sunak are saying. That's also kind of complicated. It is true that increasing police presence decreases crime, but so insignificantly and so inconsistently that it doesn't come close to justifying the problems that over-policing brings. A few years ago, criminologists found that, quote, 40 years of studies on policing consistently show that the overall effect of police force size on crime is negative, small, and not statistically significant. We have some academics in this room. You can confirm that negative, small, and statistically insignificant is the academic equivalent of throwing in a couple of swear words. They're done. You know what's a better, more cost-effective way of reducing crime? And in the long term, too? Funding schools. Parental leave. Healthcare. Boring, yes, nothing flashy about welfare, but these things increase social mobility, and the driving cause of crime is poverty. We know this. We've known this for centuries. Police don't solve poverty, and therefore they don't solve the biggest reason crime happens. At best, they are a band-aid solution that is steadily getting less and less effective, a baton-wielding, uniform-wearing syrup we are using on all of our coughs. Syrup is great for a cold, but if you use it to treat tuberculosis, you will die. Finally, police routinely fail to serve the communities that need them most. This is a point that will come up again later, so I'll be brief here. If you are poor, disabled, queer, or from an ethnic minority background, you are more likely to be a victim of crime. You are more likely to need the police's help, and you are more likely to be let down. The suffusion of police forces worldwide with racists, misogynists, and power-hungry bigots is well studied. This is not surprising. It is a job where you get to wield power over vulnerable others, enact violence on them, and unfortunately, in many cases, get away scot-free. It is a system that attracts these bigots, and it will continue doing so until we change it. Abolitionist Andrea Rishi said that the police today face their greatest crisis of legitimacy in a generation. Mr. Cook echoed this last year, saying that the public's trust in police is hanging by a thread. Less than half of the people in the UK trust them. In London, the most policed region of the country, this falls to just a third. Would you go to a doctor 60% of people didn't trust? Police themselves are also struggling. Almost half here only have 5 years of experience on the job. 90% have been traumatized on the job, and 1 in 5 have PTSD. This is despite funding increasing consistently for the last 9 years. It is not the flow of money, it is the job itself that is rotten. We are consistently relying on inexperienced, traumatized young men and women to solve problems best fixed by the state, by doctors, by community care. From both ends of the spectrum, public and police, we see the system failing. Policing today doesn't work. Where do we go from here? There are officers with good intentions, but you cannot good intention your way out of a system built on bad ones. Good intentions cannot fix the racism, classism, misogyny built into the foundations of policing. They cannot fix that it is a system invented by factory-owning industrialists to keep the working class in line. Robert Peel, the man who founded policing as we know it today in the UK, was the first prime minister from an industrialist background. There are officers with good intentions. You will hear from them tonight. But even they must admit that policing today is broken, and that police today do not serve the people the way we think they're meant to. To that end, I urge you to vote for the proposition tonight. Thank you.